Peace and love, everybody. This is Akil Bay. Um, Now hosting, co-hosting along with Wazir Amir Hassan El of New Mecca. Um, Here to start a new avenue of information in regards to statehood. So again, I'm Akil Bay, Wazir of Meru State Republic, also president of the Trusteeship Council, as well as co-chairman of the WRC. Um, I'd like to very briefly, explain what this is all about. These new meetings that I will be co-hosting with again, with Wazir Amir Hassan El, uh, and then I'll pass him the mic, let him introduce himself. Um, but this is all about the trusteeship council. This particular video. Um, Yeah, I'll explain the WRC here in a second, or maybe Wazir Amir can go ahead and explain that here in a second. Um, this trusteeship council video is all about uh, explaining what the trusteeship council is, how Moors can actually begin the process of decolonization, and what are the actual first steps that must be done and why. All right, so I'll pass the floor over to the mic over to Wazir Amir Hassan El, and I yield.
Islam, thank you. This is Amir Hassan El. I'm the Wazir of Lodium Moorish Peridium of New Mecca, formerly known as Oregon. I'm also the co-chairman of the WRC, and I want to welcome everyone. Um,
Islam
WR
Noble.
oh, sorry, go ahead. Were you saying something, brother?
I was just saying Islam Noble.
Oh, okay. The
Oh, you can.
WRC is an organization, a regional organization that's developed to help other non-governmental states, Moroccan states, or what is called commonly known as trustee states, come into statehood and control their territory where they are. A lot of different people who are interested in becoming a state, well, if they come to the WRC, we'll be able to help them through the statehood, through all the steps of statehood. And then, so they'll be also known as a Moroccan state government. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna hand it over back to my co-host, Akil.
All right, and thank you for that introduction, Wazir. Um, as you see on the screen, here's the information to contact the trusteeship council. Um, you can either contact the trusteeship council itself, in which I highly suggest to do first. And we'll talk about what must be what you must include in the email if you decide to contact the trusteeship council. And then there's the president's email, which is me. Then we have the vice president, who is Kendon Bay. Okay, so as the Wazir alluded to, the Wazir Regional Council is an organization that pretty much mimics the United Nations, um, and does what the United Nations does. Now, what does the United Nations do? They decolonize, right? They decolonized 80 countries. So, and that's exactly what the WRC is aiming to do, as we assist Moors establishing a jural society, this properly known as a state. So again, as you see on the screen, the email for the trusteeship council, number one, I will say that all the information that's needed before we really get into what the trusteeship council is, all the information is needed is your name, your phone number, and the territory you reside in. And of course, I have your email because that's what you'll be using. So if you have those three things um, for yourself, and if you're mentioning anybody else, then put those three things along with their email. Okay. Um, so again, if you're interested in starting a more estate, the name, phone number, territory you reside in, if it's if you're referring someone else, then put their email. Okay. So we'll be talking about what the trusteeship council is, right? Which is basically a organ that's being overseen by the WRC, which is the Wazir Regional Council. Okay. Um, again, all of this mimics the United Nations in many ways. And excuse me if the screen continues to go dark. I should have adjusted my settings. So the trusteeship council is the first organ or department of Moors that you would contact to begin decolonization. Um, we have a set of agreements, policies that'll help you out and help the group stay intact. Being that when you are forming a state, right? Obviously, there's nothing officially established, right? You're coming together with a group of people that you trust or are hoping that you can trust, building with, and that's the whole point of establishing a state, right? So we'll be talking more about the basics of what a state is, what the trusteeship council is, right? And I'll soon yield the floor over to the Wazir Amir after this brief overview of what the trusteeship council is, um, which again we have to follow international law, right? What does international law say? International law says that only states can take other states to international court. So what do we need? A state. What is a state? Well, in the Montevideo Convention, Rights and Duties of a State, it says that in Article 1, a state is a permanent population, a defined territory, a government, and capacity to enter into relations with other states. The main thing to take away right now is government. Okay, and that's what the trusteeship council is here to help you establish, a government. That's what we've been missing, a government that represents us as Moroccans. So here's on the screen again the contact information that you can send the basic information to, the name, phone number, territory you reside in, and email if you're referring someone else. So I'll yield the floor to Wazir Amir.
Thank you, brother. Wazir. Okay, so as the president of the trustee council, I have a couple questions that some of the other people may have. As the trusteeship council, what is their, how do they tend to help those those other territories that are looking to become a state? And how is it that how is it you help them? What do you do?
Okay, and that's a good question. And at any time, I'll say this before I answer the question. If anybody would like to interject with a question or comment, just briefly say point of interest, and I'll yield the floor to you, and we'll get back to the topic at hand. So and thank you for the question, Wazir. The first steps, as I alluded to earlier, would be exactly to email the trusteeship council. You can number one, you can your name, phone number, territory you reside in, and whoever you're referring to, their email. Reason being is because when we look at as quote unquote, when we claim to be Moorish Americans, we seen that the United States was a corporation. We seen that they were pretending to be the United States of America. But all along, at least I can speak for myself in my journey. I was unaware that there was no Moroccan government on this landmass, since this is Morocco. Many people know that there's no sultan governing things. But if this is Morocco, where is the Moroccan government? If people say this is America, it's easy to call out where their government is. They have addresses, they're active, right? Quote unquote America. But the whole point of the trusteeship council is again, to establish the first steps of decolonization, and what must be done first is the process of creating a state, which is 3 branches of government. Now, what did Noble Drew Ali say to do? Go to the European to learn government. Now we have the United States, you can say, right? But that's a group acting, a corporation acting like a government. Then you have the United Nations, which actually teaches you how to establish a government. So, lean on your, and I'm talking to everybody pretty much at this point, but lean on your own understanding in regards to when Noble Drew Ali said, learn from the European, because it's quite clear. So we have basically the first steps to establish a state, which is making sure you have 3 branches of government. Now, why did my screen just do that? Now, the government.
Hey, brother, we can't hear you, Wazir, if you're still speaking. I think we lost him. Anyway, he'll be back on shortly. Oh, here he is.
My apologies. I got kicked out.
That's
Let me get myself together. Okay. I thought I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. All right. All right. So The trust leading off where I left off, to establish a state, you must have three branches of government, right? Um, Now that doesn't have, according to the strict verbiage, um, we're not talking about exact numbers. It's just exactly what it takes. Meaning that if you have three or three branches of government on record, that can be a state. That's fine. We don't encourage you to just have three. We encourage people to have more like five at the least five. Um, Three to establish a state. Four being the fourth being the person that can get the state in motion, i.e., the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Uh, Five, just for the sake of saying, uh, because people tend to change their minds, right? Some people don't come in with this with pure hearts, come in this cause confusion, et cetera, or what we call a Negro mentality, right? Um, so if if since it only takes three branches of government, right? And there's no fixed number when we're reading these international laws as far as what a state is, etc. Um, we're talking about the establishment of a government on paper. So at least, what am I saying? Three people at the least. All the more states thus far um, have nothing but women in the Dalil Aziz or the legislative branch. Um, Reason being because if you look up the word legislator, the etymology of it means to birth a child, to carry. Um, so when we're talking about man's law and universal law, we got to make it make sense. So the law, the length, angle, width, or the actual law, as in writing the law, we're talking about the women, the matriarchs, in the legislative branch or the Lil Aziz. Um, so all this information that I'm sharing is pretty much information for everybody who wishes to start a state, a Moorish state, um, to basically share the information via email and just make everything make sense with universal law. Make man's law make sense with universal law. Again, as I alluded to, what the word legislator means, along with the three branches of government, etc. Um, so all in all, it takes three people nonetheless. We encourage five. It takes active Moors, not passive Moors, not just want to be nationals, because it takes a state to develop and actually have active hands, which is one of the most important things. Um, bringing problems to the table, cases to the table, but no activity can really cause the state to slow down because it's only so many of us trying to get this thing off the ground. So what we want to do is bring active hands, um, and people who are at least looking to be officials and striving to be officials. Um, so in which I definitely, and I probably speak for Wazir when I say this, that we strongly suggest ANPAC study session videos. You can go to ANPAC Media on YouTube, scroll down and start their study session videos. Or if you want to go to the other page that was hijacked um, by their former wazir, you can go there to the hijack page, which is a Lodium Morris Pradium Ante Colorado. Scroll down and you'll see the first video um, hosted by Jay Bay. So um, to conclude that question, um, it's all about again the competency of knowing what a state is, um, and the people who are willing in your territory to establish a state. And I will say, as a matter of fact, I want to scroll down to this here before I pass the mic back. Udi Pasadatus. I don't know what I just did. Hold on. Okay. Well, it says Udi Pasadatus Juris is a principle of customary international law that serves to preserve the boundaries of colonies emerging as states. Originally applied to establish the boundaries of decolonized territories in Latin America, UPJ has become a rule of wider application, notably in Africa. Okay. And then it talks more about how do I get this off the screen? Yeah, sorry. I got a new phone and I'm not sure how to work this, but okay, here we go. So Udi Pasadatus Juris, why is this important? This is what you call a maxim. You know how Moore say, do you know the 10 maxims of law? As if there's only 10 maxims. A maxim means general statement, right? Like de facto or de jure, right? So it's not the maxims that the maxims are good to know, don't get me wrong, but we need to know the instructions, the actual instructions, right? When we say de facto, that's a maxim, but that's not an actual instruction, right? Um, so this is a maxim, Udi Pasadatus Juris. It says, is a customary doctrine in international law that requires emerging states to presumptively inherit the pre-independence of boundaries. So again, we want to follow international law, right? Why? Because we the ones that taught the world this in the first place as Moors. Um, but as if you want to emerge as a state out of colonization, if you want to start to decolonize, right? You want to follow international law, res judicata, the treaty, the conventions, etc., right? Well, Udi Pasadatus Juris says that you must reclaim the territory that you reside in. So if you stay in Nevada, that's the jurisdiction, i.e., quote unquote, state, because we know it's de facto state, that you want to make a de jure state, a Moroccan state, right? It could be any name you would like it to be. I will say that for the record, it doesn't have to be Ampac, Ampow, Ampat. You know, you can make it anything. I will say that for the record, because some people feel the need to have to do it that way, because so many states have done that, which is fine too. So I'll conclude the question with that. But I do have a question for you, Wazir Mir, just to yield to you.
Okay. Well, thank you
Before,
for. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to yield the floor to you with a question,
Okay.
um, so that people can further understand the mentality that's necessary to have when it's important for Moors to understand international law, Moroccans specifically, Moroccans, not just Moors, Moroccans specifically. So I do have a question for you, so that the floor can further understand. Um, is Moorish American a nationality?
Okay. Thank you very much, Wazir, for that question. And I want to say thank you very much for your explanation on the Wazir Trustee Council. A very good explanation. Now the question is the can you repeat that again?
Is Moorish American a nationality?
Moorish American, is that a nationality? Absolutely not. Moorish Americans are still naturalized United States citizens because they have not gone um, to a Moroccan state government and pledge their allegiance and become Moroccans. So they're still subject to the United States laws, to United States jurisdiction. But many of them are very confused to think that they're not, and have caused havoc amongst their members, and have gone to jail, lost children, lost property, from the simple reason of not understanding international law and not understanding the treaties that have been presented in the classes of the AMPAC and AMPAG. I definitely would suggest that all of those Moorish Americans start to study and get a better understanding, because then they will understand that they're just actually less than the blacks as far as citizenship is concerned, because the government of the United States recognized black people, African Americans, but they do not recognize Moorish Americans, and rightfully so. So no, this is not a nationality. I yield.
Is and not I just a camel back off of that. On the screen here is just the age of technology, Chat GPT, right?
Right.
A question asked, is Moorish American a nationality? Right, just more on that concept. Um, it says no, Moorish American is not a recognized nationality in the traditional sense. The term Moorish American is often used to refer to a specific religious and cultural identity associated with the Moorish Science Temple of America, a religious organization founded in the early 20th century in the United States. Members of the Moorish Science Temple of America identify themselves as Moorish Americans, emphasizing their African and Islamic heritage. However, self identification does not confer any legal or recognized nationality status. Again, self identification does not confer or grant any legal or recognized nationality status. Real quick. So, what does grant or confer a recognized nationality status? A government confers, grants, validates, confirms that, right? So,
Correct.
a state government is what Moors have been missing. That's why I said self-identification. Moors been doing it themselves, saying that I'm the the, the consul general, and no government has elected them to be that. Um, so it continues to say nationality is typically determined by citizenship. So we're talking about attachment to a government. So if you're a Moroccan, right, we're talking about Moroccan governments. It also says, which is granted by a recognized sovereign state or government. So nationality is granted by a recognized sovereign state or government, right? So we this pretty much we got to utilize the core and get straight to the point, you know. Because a lot of people want to, play with the understanding. Well, if it's not a no. Stick to the strict verbiage, strict to the exact binding terms in the treaties. Not a comma more, not a dash more. Um, so I'll share this other picture. I'm sorry. So it says members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay. I just want to read this last paragraph. It says, it's important to note that the concept of nationality can vary across different countries and legal systems. In the case of Moorish Americans, their self identification as such is primarily a cultural and religious affiliation rather than a recognized nationality. And so we basically uh, get down to um, what, when we use the term Northwest Amexem or the term Moorish American, none of these are in the treaties. Northwest Amexem is not in the treaties. So when we say Northwest Amexem, what is this? This is a privatized term. What does that mean? That means it's a term, just like Moorish American, that has, just as it says, affiliated with itself with a corporation. Corporations are private. That's private law and international law. So it's a privatized term because it's binding its usage to a corporation. So these are not terms you can find in treaties. It's like the 101s, all of this, when Noble Drali came. Well, I won't get into that right now, honestly. Um, but just to conclude with with that Camelback with after Wazir Amir's answer, which was a very, very good answer. Again, no, Moorish American is not a nationality. You're either Moroccan or you're American. So more so in regards to the trusteeship council, I like to go to a link. Right, this is the United Nations website on the trusteeship.
If I may,
Yeah.
some questions and answers about just staying on the Moore subject before going into the trusteeship council. Is that appropriate?
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. So let's see. No, not possible to be Moorish and American. This fin sitting, that's still American, and it was based on the temples under their religious under their religious protection under the Constitution, but it's not something that you can lean on. It has to be in Northwest Amexem, as you stated. Um, uh, it's a it's a um, it's a geographical uh, thing in ancient. I guess it's an ancient name that was used, but as you stated, it's not in any of the treaties. You have to stick with the land that's named in the treaty, which is Morocco, and hence the nationality has to be Moroccan and not Moroccan American or Moorish American, but a national of Morocco. So in order to establish a state, according to AMPAC, it is population. You have to have a population. I don't know what that means. And so perhaps you can address that. And then, yes, the territory that you're in. So that suggests to me that Moroccan states that are already established, somebody on the East Coast cannot become a part of an established state on the West Coast because he's not of that population. so you can address that, but that's dealing with population and territory, and then and then the government, the three branches of government. You clarified that you don't have to have on each branch. You don't have to have a multitude of numbers representing each branch. I'd like to know uh, why that is, but if that's all that's sufficient to establish a state, does once all of those are in place, does the state have to be chartered with? Um, does it have to be chartered with one of the international, like Algeciras or someplace in Morocco? Does it need to be chartered and recognized and put on the international? Oh yes, and also being able to have relationships, treaties with other states is another. Uh, that's another factor that needs to be. So where does this get chartered so that it is recognized on the international stage? I yield.
Okay.
Okay, Wazir.
Yes. Okay. Let me see if I can remember what you said. First thing is the population. Okay.
Yeah.
So when a territory wants to become a state, they use Udi Posadatus for the borders of that colonial state. Now that becomes an international state, and anybody that's living in within those borders becomes part of the population. Okay, so that's the population part.
I'm sorry. So it doesn't have to be the population of active Moors who are becoming a part of the Moroccan state of that territory.
It will include them also. It would include them also. Okay.
Okay. So the population just means the population that's within the borders of that territory.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Okay. Proceed.
Your next question was, can you help me with it?
Uh, it was population, territory, and that we just discussed that, and then the three branches of government. Um, I forgot the name of those, but name those three again, and then you said the numbers don't have to be that magnified or that quantified. You can have one on each branch. Which what are those branches? The legislative body, judicial. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, there's three branches of government: the legislative body, and then there's the executive body, and then there's the judicial.
Judicial, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, it's the principles of those bodies that we're talking about when you just need. So, as a judicial branch, you need a chief quasi, which is also known as a judge. That's the principle. And then, as an executive branch, you need the wazir, okay, also known as the prime minister, okay. And then in the legislative branch, we have the Sayaraha. She's the Speaker of the House, okay. So those are the three principles that are necessary to have the three branches of government, okay. And the legislative branch is called the House of Delaziz, okay. There are other members part of that branch, but if you're coming in on it and you want to get started, that is the minimum. But we also need a Haji, Minister of Foreign Affairs, because that Haji is going to help with international affairs and the relationships with the United Nations, because there's documents that needs to go back and forth. Okay. And so that's your fourth person. Then it's also good to have a mufti, a consul general. Okay. But for the most part, those are the positions that will help you really get started. And again, it's something that we're hoping that more and more territories will find enticing and want to learn more. Okay, so
What is the my next was about being chartered. So what is the documenting process for each one of those branches? Uh, all of that stuff has to be documented. And so what is the journey of documenting all of that all the way up to, being recognized by the United Nations and yeah, I guess that's the best way I can explain it. There's a documentation process for each of those steps, I'm sure. If you can explain that.
okay. The Circle 7, and I'm going to yield to Wazir Akil because we're talking about the trustee councilship, and if that's part of what they do, I want him to be able to explain it to you. I yield.
Okay.
All right, is a good question. When it comes to I speak on two different aspects. A charter period, and then the United Nations Charter itself. So in regards to the United Nations Charter, I know a lot of Moors have in their minds that, quote unquote, you sell your soul when you speak about utilizing the United Nations Charter and et cetera, et cetera. What this is exactly, the United Nations Charter is a document that's saying that if you wish to establish peace, just like the rest of us, exercise peace, security, et cetera, right? International law, respecting people's treaties, et cetera. You must first bind to this, right? So it's a document that basically ensures that everybody is going to establish peace. For some reason, a lot of Moors think it's a spooky document, and then think that Rothschilds owns the United Nations, which is a big lie. I don't know where they got that from. It's just a lot of spookism.
Well,
When
I tell you what. Sorry to interrupt your wisdom. In terms of the criticisms and the fears and the hobgoblin thoughts, even well, clearly none of the 13 families would be interested in the laws that would have been created. Those laws of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it goes totally against who they are and what they represent. So it doesn't make sense that those laws would be put in place and agreed upon by the nations of the world, who genuinely, sincerely want to see the inhumanity of man and man's inhumanity to other men continue. So it is looking at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, of indigenous rights, of children rights, and what was written in the laws that have been agreed upon, and that agreement is a treaty in itself. It stands upon us to get behind it and enforce it.
Absolutely. The UN is also working toward decolonization of the planet, and it's put forth a lot of resolutions in order to see that happen. And so what we're doing is picking up on that and making our own resolutions through the WRC to help those other Moroccan states continue to decolonize what is commonly known as the United States. Okay.
Yes.
So the whole agenda is to decolonize the world for
Yes.
the UN. And so that is the same purpose for the WRC, to decolonize the region that we're in.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to um uh get back to that last part of that question, I want to share as far as how is the charter used in uh well exactly in Article 102 of the United Nations Charter. It speaks on how every state must uh enter uh 22. It doesn't say this specifically in Article 102, but basically you must accede to 22 treaties before you can get through that process of acceding to treaties as a state. So you have to at least accede to 22. So this is the United Nations making sure that you're ensuring, implementing, instilling peace, and not just trying to, come off the whim, yeah, I'll just do one, because
Mhm.
you got plans, right? So Article 102 specifically uh, speaks on how member states must enter into agreements and register with the Secretariat, um, and specifically acceding to treaties. So,
The Secretary of State or the Department of State in DC, which
no, the United Nations.
Yeah.
the United Nations, the Secretary at the United Nations.
Yeah.
Do any of the departments in the USA or the US need to be put on notice once those are in place as a part of the documentation? Like, in other words, if you are in a traffic stop and your Moroccan state has its own plates and things of that nature, and then you have to go through that. Um, you're not going to get anybody at the UN like right away. Um, uh, let's see, how does that? Because I'm dealing with that now. I'm with the United Washita. They dug pneumonia, which is coming out of uh, North Carolina, and they have an IPO number with the United Nations. I've seen a charter with them. They're considered a state, but yet, um, I'm dealing with traffic stops, and I don't have any state backing. I'm a national of that, and so when I inquire about, well, where's the state backing, where's the consulate, where's the embassy, who who can you turn to, when you encounter, um, dealing with another nation, another state, that really doesn't want to respect the diversity of nationality on this land, you know. So where I'm at now, I haven't gotten any answers for that. So what we were trying to create here now, there has to be some answers put in place for.
Yeah.
Okay, I yield.
Yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And if you don't mind, Wazir, I answer this one. I'm familiar with some of the processes that you're speaking on in relation to Dr. Eileen Bay, uh,
Mm-hmm.
his,
Mm-hmm.
uh, his teachings. Um,
Yes.
basically, that it's not a state. It's it's an organization, which organizations need charters. States need state constitutions.
Yes. Yes. Right. Constitution. We forgot. Yeah. Have to have a constitution. Anyway, he claims he has a constitution, but when I read their constitution, it basically only tells the story about the Queen, and the court cases, and um, about the Louisiana Purchase, and it's not like it didn't read like a constitution, but
Yeah,
maybe that's what he called a constitution.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
corporations have constitutions too. Look at
Yes.
No
Yeah.
or Scientific America. And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's just like this. There's a difference between bylaws and
You're
state
right.
law.
Right,
There's
right.
Mhm.
state constitutions and municipal course constitutions,
Right.
uh, et cetera, et cetera. This is why Noble Ali used the corporate world to at least begin to more to practice some sort of government, even though that wasn't the end all be all. Now, in
Yeah.
relation, uh, um, exactly your setting that your situation that you're in, um, again, it's when we talk about charters,
Yes.
charters are for dependencies. They're for
Mm,
colonies.
mm.
They're not for sovereign, the sovereign.
Sovereign, sovereign. Mm,
So the sovereign or the state issues charters for the
mm.
dependency or that colonial that corporation
Yeah.
leaning on that state or under that
Right.
state.
The state issues the charters to
You're right.
organizations, and yeah, I
The
got
state
you.
sovereign. That's the
Hmm.
person sovereign
Yeah.
issuing the document. So that's where Moors tend to, even with the communications with the United Nations,
Hmm.
all of that can be, you know, it can be letters sent back and forth and numbers attached to the United States that people say is outside of their jurisdiction when in truth it's not, et
All
cetera,
right.
et cetera. But if it's not a state, then you're stateless. And
I'm finding that out the hard way. I'm finding that out the hard way dealing with these traffic stops. But yeah, continue.
I'll yield the floor to Wazir Mir for any further topics before I share what's on the screen here.
Okay, thank you. I'm noticing that there's a lot of other groups that are popping up saying that they are a government, and when you come to find out, they have not done the proper steps to become a government. They have no
Right.
constitution. They have no declaration of independence. They're
Right.
missing a lot of the vital things necessary to become a government.
That
And
meets the criteria. Yeah.
yeah, and then they have all these memberships, people coming in and telling them, you're part of this group or that group, this organ, and they're calling themselves a state or a government, but they have no power. They're just an organization, and
Mhm.
there's all of them still are naturalized more subjects, in that those who are considered Moors, okay? But again, and they mislead the people.
Mhm.
There's a lot of them around here. They're on the Facebook and they're on YouTube or what on, whatever. And they've got people bamboozled. And most of them
Mhm.
Moorish Americans, the ones I'm thinking of,
Mhm.
or they're another group of Indians, uh,
Mhm.
and they're misleading the people. So that will come to an end too.
Mhm. Mhm.
While there, I yield the floor.
Is so we'll start getting back to a few of these points, reference points about the trusteeship council. I just like to read some general information that you can find on the United Nations websites. Um, it says about the status. It says the trusteeship council suspended its operations on November 1st, 1994, a month after the independence of Palau, the last remaining United Nations Trust territory. By a resolution adopted on May 25th, 1994, the Council amended its rules of procedures to drop the obligation to meet annually and agreed to meet as occasion required by its decision or the decision of its president, or at the request of a majority of its members, or the General Assembly, or the Security Council. Um, it further says the United Nations Charter established the Trusteeship Council as one of the main organs of the United Nations and assigned to it the task of supervising the administration of trust territories placed under international trusteeship system. The main goal of the international trusteeship system were to promote the advancement of the inhabitants of trust territories and their progressive development towards self government or independence. So it tells you right there what the trusteeship is all about, right? Promoting the advancement of self government and independence. Um, so it further says the trusteeship council is made up of 5 permanent members of the Security Council, in which for the WRC, we don't have a Security Council. And that's for a reason. So again, we're not set up exactly like the United Nations, but very similar. So it continues to say the aims of the trusteeship council, the trusteeship system, have been fulfilled to the extent that all trust territories have attained self-government or independence, either as a separate state or by states or by joining neighboring independent countries. All right. Um, functions and powers.
I'm sorry, how does that work? Joining neighboring independent countries?
That in regards to what we spoke on earlier, the maxim uti possidetis juris. Now, I'll use this for example. Not only that maxim uti possidetis juris, but a situation that occurred amongst several Moors who tried to establish a state called Unami Buffalo Nation, in which they tried to, as colonized people, right, try to reclaim 3 different countries as one and consolidate them into one state. Now,
I remember that. I remember that.
That's out of international law, right? But as you just questioned, it says by joining neighboring independent states. Now, where's the solution in this? Well, the solution is understanding that in order to join neighboring independent countries, that you must first be a de jure state already. You can't come out of colonization and say, hey, I'm grabbing 3 states. So you gotta have one established de jure state and be maneuver based off of your own sovereignty and independence. But you have no sovereignty and independence to decide what's going to go on with another state, right? When you yourself have no power to do that. You're still in somebody's jurisdiction. Right? There's res judicata that says, whoa, before you do that, there's steps in between that you might want to look at called uti possidetis juris. Right? So there was a lot of jumping the gun, a lot of avoiding international law in hopes of decolonization. But when the foundation is not strong, then the house will fall.
Where's that Unami? Where were they located? What state were they located in?
They were aiming to reclaim Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
Yeah, that's that Tracy Gale Bay was in that.
Yeah.
She was in that. So what she's doing right now is not correct, because I think she's following the same steps that we're talking about, as far as I know.
No, she's not. Is she another reason as far as her group being excommunicated is that they well, I should say Yasharon, I'm not gonna say everybody, but Yasharon, Tracy Gale Bay, I believe her name is
Yesharin or something. Yesharin,
she took information and sold information as a government official, knowing that that's not a part of the contract that she agreed to, right? Can't do that. That's going against the law. So there's a lot of things that's out of alignment, but just to clear that record, the several states, more states excommunicated for a reason. There's a lot of bleeding going on. So just to the conclude that perspective, that concept, as far as adjoining neighboring independent countries, that's pretty much what it's alluding to. Says you can be a separate state or joining neighboring independent states.
But you first have to be independent yourself.
Yeah.
To join on with other independent. So that's the key. That's the operative word. Independent states joining on with other independent states. Got it.
Yeah. Got it. So it says background. The United Nations, or what do we? Okay, I believe I left off where it says the main goals of the international trusteeship system. I read that already. Yeah. Okay. Functions and powers. Under the charter, the trusteeship council is authorized to examine and discuss reports from the administering authority on the political, economic, social, and educational advancement of the peoples of the trust territories in consultation with the administering authority to examine petitions from and undertake periodic and other special missions to trust territories. So exactly what it says, examine petitions. The administering authority, which is the trusteeship council, right? Or the people who have delegated, you might be assigned a few members of the trusteeship council, which is considered the administering authority. Then you have, your chain of command, but you have basically petitions that the trusteeship council sends out for people to fill out. So the people will email the trusteeship council. We will send them a petition to fill out. They send it back for us to document it, right? And we further go along with scheduling the meeting if there's 3 people nonetheless. So we'll examine petitions, right? And again, we're in various stages of advancement, the beginning stages specifically. So a lot of this stuff, we're looking for, again, active Moors, so that we can fulfill a lot of these other obligations. So I'll actually would like to go to a different link. And this speaks on more so about the international trusteeship system. It says I won't read everything, but I'll pause certain points. It says in 1945, under Chapter 12 of the Charter, the United Nations established the international trusteeship system for the supervision of trust territories placed under it by individual agreement with states administering them. Under Article 77 of the Charter of the International Trusteeship System applied to these 3 points, right? Which basically is talking about the colonized territories. So it says also in the next paragraph, it says, pursuant to Article 76 of the Charter, the basic objectives of the international trusteeship system in accordance with the purpose of the United Nations included to promote the political, economic, social, and educational advancement of the inhabitants in the trust territories and their progressive development towards self-government and independence, and to encourage respect for human rights, uplift from fallen humanity, right, and
Mhm.
fundamental freedoms, excuse me, and fundamental freedoms for all in recognition for independence of peoples of the world. Now,
Mhm.
I want to stop right there where it says the independence, right? So we talk about Article 76, right? Or interdependence, excuse me.
Mhm.
And other points that it was talking about. The political, economic, social advancement, right? So where do we hear more about this? Well, let's see here. If I can get back to the right thing. This right here is the Act of Algeciras.
Mhm.
Is Moorish treaty. It's more Moroccan law. This Act of Algeciras is seen as a treaty in international law.
Mhm.
Um, so um, it says right here in the preamble that, uh, and I'll just read a little bit before where the red line starts. It says, "Its Majesty, the King of Sweden himself, take as a starting point the interest which himself attached." It's not just talking about the King of Sweden; it's talking about everybody listed above. Uh, in, take, excuse me, starting point the interest which himself attached with it, the command, the peace, and the prosperity reign in Morocco. So real quick, we talking about the command, the peace, and the prosperity reign in Morocco, right? A command of that, and have recognized that this goal invaluable no be no be only excuse me no be reached only with the help of the introduction. Okay, so we're talking about the introduction of reform based on the triple principle of sovereignty and independence of its majesty the sultan, some integrity of its state, and some freedom economic with no inequality. So this is what you call the triple principles, right? So just as the United Nations Charter mentioned that it's all about the sovereignty and independence, right? What it first says right here that in the Act of Algeciras, this Moroccan law in the preamble, that the introduction to reform of Morocco should be based on the triple principles, which is sovereignty and independence of its majesty, the Sultan. There is no more Sultan, so we're talking about Moroccan states,
Mhm.
right? That's what international law says. If you go to Article 121 of this Act of Algeciras, you'll see more of what I'm talking about, where it says all states need a constitution.
Mhm.
So it itself knows that during this time the empire was falling, and so Morocco, independence of Morocco, still had to be established. It was saying that it was going in the hands. It was aiming that the Moroccan Empire was aiming to be in the hands of somebody else. But before that happened, this was established. Independence must still be enforced because it was looking bad. So it says the independence of His Majesty the Sultan, but then it goes to saying Article 121 that states need constitutions because there was a lot going on before that time frame.
Yeah, the monarchy, the monarchy system was just not working.
Do you see?
People get intoxicated on the power. Yeah.
So it also goes to say some integrity of its state, which is the integrity of your domain, the state.
Mhm.
Um, and also it says economic liberty, basically without any inequality. So
I'm sorry, economic liberty, what?
what it specifically says right here, some freedom economic without inequality.
Yeah, okay.
Economic freedom or liberty without any inequality.
Yeah.
So this is the order that Moors must abide by according to the treaties.
Mm-hmm.
We must establish first sovereignty and independence
Mm-hmm.
before we do anything else. Before anybody has done anything else, have you established your sovereignty and independence? What's the sovereign? The state, not
Mm-hmm.
individual. The state is the person that's sovereign. The state is the government. Not we ourselves are not the government. We are just a part of it, right? I'm just a vote. I'm just one seat of office,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so I like to yield here to the brother Wazir Amir Hassan El um in regards to any other points, um, especially in regards to as we further carry on this conversation, these um these next few videos. And if you don't have any other points, I have a question for you, Wazir, um, as it relates to um, you Soli and you Sanguinis, um, because all this relates to the trusteeship council, right? And why Moors have to understand that the trusteeship council is here to assist you. We're here to give you advice, suggestions. Now, your political group that's forming a state, again, they're groups. They're not states yet. Um, so we're here to assist and guide people into why going about it a certain way, specifically international law, is wise. So I have a question for you, Wazir. If you don't have anything else to speak on at the moment, if you can speak on Moors here in Morocco and how or why they are not exercising both use solely and use sanguinis.
Okay.
And I yield with that.
Just sanguinis is basically, it says here, just sanguinis is a principle of nationality law by which citizenship is not determined by the place of birth, but by having one or both parents who are citizens of the state. Okay, so the Moors, the Moorish Americans, should I say, uh, keep saying that they're uh, part of the state because they're born here, and so therefore they have rights, and they're not under the jurisdiction of the colonizers. So therefore, due to the fact that they say they're born here, well, then if they're born here, I think they were talking about the other one, just Soleil, blood that the land. But the problem is the Moorish Americans, like many other so-called African Americans and Negroes and Blacks, are naturalized Americans. Okay, and they are therefore under the jurisdiction of the United States because the United States adopted them. Okay, and uh trying to remember that
Through the birth certificate, STQ trust, yeah.
through the Naturalization Act, I believe it was 1871. But anyway, they became naturalized, and they are citizens of the United States, and therefore under the jurisdiction. Now, what they need to do in order to come out from under the jurisdiction of the United States, in the Treaty of Madrid, uh, Article 15, it gives them a way out of the jurisdiction of the United States by coming and pledging their allegiance to a Moroccan government. Okay, once they give their allegiance to the Moroccan government, and they also resign their they are, well, excuse me, let me make this right. They have to become part of a Moroccan government. Therefore, they become under the jurisdiction of that government and no longer under the United States. So they'll have to go to if there's an issue, they'll go to a Moroccan or a consular court and not a U.S. municipal court or federal court or whatever the situation may come. So that's an advantage of becoming under the Moroccan government. There's much and many more advantages, but we can go over those next time. But yeah, many of the Moorish Americans are very much confused, and they've been misled and misleading others as generation after generation after generation. It has to come to an end ASAP. So I yield at that, Wazir. There you go. So I'll read that. This here is the Treaty of Madrid, the right of protection in Morocco. Article 15, any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which shall have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between the entire submission to the laws of the empire and the obligations to quit Morocco, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained with the consent of the government of Morocco. So basically, this is your way back to a Moroccan government, okay, and under the jurisdiction of a Moroccan government. But there's so many people, such as the Moorish Americans and so on, they fall under the second part of the Article 15, where it says foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco according to the rules established by the laws of each country shall be continued to them as regards all its effects without any restriction. So those who fail to come back to the Moroccan government continue to be subjects of the United States, naturalized citizens, and they are subject to their laws, their jurisdiction. Okay, when I say they, I'm talking about the foreign United States jurisdiction. So they'll have to go to those courts and they have to follow those laws, and they're treated as the foreign governments wish or subject them to be treated. So you notice that there are so many Moorish Americans or Moors, Black people, Negro and colored, that filled our prisons. It's for a reason. That's not by mistake. That's by design. And there's a lot of us who have been told that we are Black, Negro, colored, African American. That's by design, because there's only two parties to the treaties: Moors, Moroccans, or United States of American citizens. That's
Question.
it. Go ahead. What's your question, sir?
Define the Moroccan territory, just for clarity. Is it the Moroccan Empire? That's, because you're just talking about the continent of North America, West, East, and South Africa. Define coming back to Morocco.
Coming back to Morocco, which means coming back to a Moroccan state government.
Right.
Right now.
Islam, can I speak?
Please.
Who's asking to speak?
This is John Bay. I'm on the iPhone.
After Wazir Amir finishes his point after the question, you can then ask your question. And just for clarity, for those just not hopping in, whenever you have anything to say, just say point of interest, and when that person yields the floor, we can handle the conversation diplomatically.
Islam.
Appreciate it. Islam.
Islam. I'm trying to remember my thoughts. It's by design that we were not told that we're Moroccans, because, like I said, there's only two parties on the treaty: Moroccans and the United States of America. So, in order for them to make sure that we don't know that we're part of that treaty, they gave us different names. We've called it everything but Moroccan, African American, Negroes, Blacks, so on and so forth. But none of those Negroes, Blacks, colors, African Americans can activate the treaty because they're not a party to the treaty. And due to the fact that we have our own Moroccan government now, many of us states, we can invoke those treaties. The first one, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, which was ratified by the United States. We can invoke those treaties, and we are invoking those treaties. I yield.
Islam. The more who just had a comment or a question, did you want to go ahead and say something?
Islam, brother. I'm sorry for interrupting the way that I did. I just wanted to say, whoever the brother was that had asked for clarification, Morocco, the Moroccan Empire consumes the north-south adjoining islands, North-South America and the adjoining islands. That's what the Moroccan Empire exists of. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, I appreciate it. I want a clarification on that because I see things in terms of once I'm of a Moroccan state, that I have access to the entire continent. So I just want to be clear about that. I yield.
Real quick,
Islam.
that's a good point that you're bringing up, because and before I read what's on the screen here, when we talk about statehood, we're talking about you having balanced powers, right? But yet in your jurisdiction, in your state, when we look at the United States, for example, they have, even though they're de facto states, where there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? So we make it de jure by just saying, hey, look what they're doing. There's several individual states that come together and make one state called the United States of America. So California is not going to tell Indiana what to do, right? That those are two separate states, and they cannot interfere with each other, or encroach, I should say. So when we're talking about you having access to the entire landmass is really to your entire state. To whereas, yes, you can cooperate with the other states and exercise human rights, but you got to be in respects to international law, not interfering with any of the states without permission on a certain level, et cetera, for proper cooperation. But as far as how things used to be ran, on this landmass, us having a sultan, monarchy, even dictatorship vibes.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's totally different. Whereas many of the Moors today, unfortunately, and I'm a victim of one of them, of the same exact thing I'm saying, is we've been indoctrinated with misinformation. Um, a lot of the old ways carried forth into this modern age that are not just valid anymore. It's international law has grown tremendously. So and it's all about statehood. On the screen, as Wazir Amir was speaking about Article 15, it gives more history as it relates to Article 15. So it says, the second paragraph, the government of the United States of America, having unilaterally relinquished certain rights in Morocco with the reemergence of Morocco into independence in 1956, considers that in line with historical developments with Article 15 Madrid Convention on the protection of 1880 has become obsolete and without effect. So unilaterally, right, made a decision and made Article 15 obsolete and without effect. The government of the United States takes due cognizance, therefore, of the action taken by the Moroccan government as set forth in its above cited note, which the United States government understands to refer only to Article 15 of the Madrid Convention on Protection of 1880. And what does 15 say? Well, this Article 15 that was unilaterally struck and made obsolete without effect is specifically for more subjects, right, who've been naturalized in a foreign country. Okay, so when Noble Drew Ali said you're Moroccan, born, aka naturalized means born in law. You're Moroccan, born in America, which is a foreign country, right? It's a country is synonymous with state. So state it means government, but it also means country. So when they say in a foreign country, in a foreign state, right? We got a Moroccan government or a Moroccan state, the country of Morocco, right? The Moroccan countries, the Moroccan states. Then you have the American jurisdiction, the American state, right? The countries in the American jurisdiction, right? The states in American jurisdiction, right? So this state word is very broad. It's multifaceted. So again, when Noble Ali said you are Moroccan, born in America, well, America is who? The 13 colonies, the colonists who changed their name to United States of America. So why would you want to be American? Right? You are naturalized in a foreign country. It says, and who shall return to Morocco shall, after having remained for a length of time equal to that which have been regularly necessary for him to obtain such naturalization, choose between, like one or the other, Moroccan or American, one or the other, choose between entire submission of the laws of the empire and the obligation to quit Morocco. So if you want to quit Morocco, okay, then you can be American. But guess what? You still, according to Moroccan law, need the confirmation from a Moroccan government to leave and be a part and be American by law. So that hasn't done so, and it can't be done if there's no Moroccan government to assure that. So there's several things out of place. So one of the most important things is that not only when it says why are you Moorish American, right? Okay, Noble Ali called you Moroccan. You're Moroccan. That's what you are. You're Moroccan. You were born in America. He knew this was the Moroccan Empire. Everybody knows. A lot of people these say it's the Moroccan Empire. Turn around, same breath. This is America. Which one is it? That's two jurisdictions, two different nationalities, two different governments. Right? You wouldn't. And the thing is that the colonizer is on the same landmass. That's what's messing people up. Unlike around the rest of the world. Right? France and Haiti, for example. Well, France, you know where France is, you know where Haiti is. Here, when people say, this is America, okay, this is Morocco, okay. So it causes even greater confusion. So it says, unless it shall be proved that his naturalization in a foreign country was obtained by the consent of a government of Morocco. Okay, what Moroccan government consented you to quit Morocco and say, hey, you could be American? There was no, right. Things were being unilaterally done, as it alluded to earlier, right? Unilaterally. So the Treaty of Madrid, 1880, excuse me, is a very important treaty for Moors. It was basically a document, again, produced in 1880 that said, hey, all the European powers, we gonna combine all y'all and make it and bottleneck this situation. Because even in 1880, the empire was falling. That's not too long before 1906. Noble Ali was born in 1886, right? Just peep what the universe was doing. It's a divine and national movement. Noble Ali came to reestablish, nonetheless, the divine side. Because if it was the national side, and knowing that national means to pledge allegiance to a state, you cannot be a Moorish national in the United States. That's not a Moorish government. You can be American national, a U.S. national, what they call it. But you cannot be, it's like saying you can be a French national in a German government. Like, no, you're German. You're under their government as what, a subject, an alien, what have you. You might be in their jurisdiction, right? But Moors are claiming to be both Moroccan and American. You can't do that. So, and before I yield the floor to Wazir Mir, and we won't be on here any much longer. There's just a few more pictures that I'd like to share, and anything else that Wazir Mir would like to share, and then we can open the floor for any questions or comments. But as it relates to you solely, right? You sanguinis, it says you solely is the right of, and again, this is just a picture, right? You solely the right of anybody born in the territory of a country to nationality or citizenship. You solely is Latin for law of soil. It means birthright citizenship. It contrasts with jus sanguinis, Latin for law of blood. Okay, so jus soli is all about birthright citizenship. Okay, of what government? Okay, soli, similar to soil, similar to soul, right? You're talking about contracts, right? The blood, right? The law of the blood. So a lot of more say, hey, I'm more about blood. Okay, well, in order to make this make sense, right? Jus sanguinis, principle of nationality, law by which citizenship, okay, of what government? is determined by the place of birth, but by having one or more parents who are citizens of that state, of the state. What government? You got to finish the sentence, right? So saying we got to do carpentry work on our minds. We got to face our cognitive dissonance. Nationality is only conferred by a state government. You want to be backed by a treaty, you got to be a part of a state government. Period. That's the bridge. There is no individual saying, "Hey, I exercise the treaty of peace and friendship." You know, a lot of Moors say, "Hey, I beat this court case." That's how I know I'm a Moor, right? A lot of Moors, in truth, establish a trust in the United States government, their jurisdiction, right? Establish a trust in their jurisdiction to do business, and they do business as an organization, right? So they're doing business as an organization, not even coming as a living being. They're saying, "Hey, I'm doing business as an organization. I'm establishing this trust. I'm gonna put my ID, my nationality card, and my plates and all the information in the trust that's in the United States jurisdiction. Therefore, I quote unquote corrected my status." What does status mean? State. Can't correct your status in their state, de facto state. At most, what you can do is fight corporation with corporation, which is not correcting the status, but is fighting corporation with corporation. So, and it'll always be, excuse my language, half-assed. There's always, no matter what you do, you're always under their jurisdiction. No matter what you do, as long as you operate under their state, it does not matter. However you set yourself up, it does truthfully in no way possible matter. Because in international law, they turn around and say, "Hey, United States of America, even though we're United States, you're the United States acting like United States of America. You have jurisdiction over these more subjects." They just let you build up a case in their system, knowing it's a corporation, and let you get off until something else needs to happen. But in international law, if you don't have a state, you're under their jurisdiction no matter what. So, and I yield the floor to Wazir Mir. Actually, one more thing, Wazir Mir. Excuse me. I like to go back to this link and just finish a few points right quick before we close out. And before I yield the floor, excuse me. Just speaking more on the trusteeship council. Because at the bottom, there's a list of territories that the United Nations has decolonized since they began, right? So as you see here, you go down and you see all these people, all these countries, right? Now, this is not even all of them, but you can click on them, right? Get different information. But so this is an interesting link to understand that, for one, the United Nations decolonized 2 countries a year. That was their average rate. They decolonized 2 states or countries a year. The WRC, which oversees the trusteeship council, in truth, is going at a faster rate when it comes to decolonization. a lot of people around the world say, hey, if the United States is a corporation, then why are they in international law being respected as the United States of America? Why can they do business still, et cetera, et cetera? Well, you got to point the finger back at yourself to first understand and answer that question, because the only reason they're allowed to do that is because the Moors haven't created their own states. And there's only two sides on this treaty of peace and friendship. Those are the only two people can say something about this landmass. And if the sovereigns have not stepped into their rightful place, then what has been happening will continue. And I'll yield the floor to Wazir Mir, but I encourage everybody to study international law, reach out to the WRC, reach out to the WRC, the Trusteeship Council, excuse me. And if you are in the territory of specifically New Mecca or Meru, still email the Trusteeship Council. I will put you in contact with Wazir Mir, or for us, a Secretary of National Standing, in which all states need. That's why we're looking for the Assistance Act of Moors to come in, understand international law with a pure heart at that. A pure heart, knowing that nationality is the quality of your character. It's the quality of your character. This is pure heart work. So we're looking for active hands, right? Again, for those who weren't here in the beginning of the video, you can email the Trusteeship Council, which is point number 1, and just leave your name, phone number, territory, and if you're referring somebody else, include their email. All right. And I'll send out petition letters, and we can take it from there. All right. And I'll yield the floor to Wazir Amir.
Thank you, Wazir. The Trusteeship Council is very influential for those on those territories that are under administration to come in and become a state. We'll do everything that's necessary to help you become a state, and all the valuable resources that you'll receive from us, and the steps to becoming a state. Very important. So with that, please reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to assist you. I yield the floor right now for any questions that the audience might have.
Can I ask something?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Islam, everyone. This is El Isa. So I apologize for being a little bit tardy. My dad's in ICU. I'm just leaving. Just had to get him calmed down. So this is our empire. And I guess I'm not quite clear. I'm sure once you explain it, I will be crystal clear. Since it's our vast estate, and Noble Drew Ali had the deed to the land, I don't know if that was all North, South, and Central America and adjoining islands. I'm sure they'll make sure I know that. I should know that already. Why do we need to go and do it state by state, territory, yeah, state by state. What does doing it state by state do, and as opposed to just claiming all of the land, and then we just have one constitution. So I yield on that one. I have another question, but let's do that one first.
Great question.
That's an excellent question. I'll answer that now. Wazir Amir, if you would like to, answer that too, you can go ahead. And I'll be brief about it. But to be quite frank, the vast estate that a lot of Moors talk about is not what it has been shared with us to be. During the time Noble Ali came on the scene, we got to remember the maxim called Udi Posidatus has been exercised since the late 1700s. And we talking about colonized people, what they have to do in order to get independence and sovereignty again. So Udi Posidatus Juris means that basically, again, as we shared earlier, that if you would like to emerge as a state or have sovereignty and independence, then you must follow the international law or res judicata, or specifically Udi Posidatus Juris, which says that basically you must reclaim the territories or the jurisdiction of the state that has colonized you, quote unquote, these imaginary lines that the colonizer has placed are now your lines to reclaim, because statehood is now a thing in international law. The old paradigm, the old Moroccan government, we basically pressed and beat the Europeans so bad they had to come together. And through our own buildup of ego, which was a fall of us, but the beginning of another thing in international law, statehood, coming together became a thing. So of course, there's many other aspects together, or they come with this explanation. But for this answer, but all in all, we got to learn from the Europeans for a reason, because we failed and forgot who we are. But when it comes to reclaiming the whole landmass, as at once, there is none of that. Even Mexico, which truthfully, which is new information to me, their name is United Mexican States, or United States of Mexico. Some more say, hey, that's a corporation, da da da. But no, it's just they're doing exactly what we're doing. They did what exactly we're doing with the United States of Morocco. So there's actually several independent states within Mexico, which makes it the United Mexican States. So statehood is basically the way to go if you wish to reclaim a whole entire landmass. You had to come together and work with the balance of powers, opposed to one person or a few Moors claiming the entire continent that's not even South America, etc. And South America is its own jurisdiction now. It's not. That's. I'll say this point. I'll say this point. I'll yield. If you look up the 1856 treaty between Britain and Morocco, you'll see, and I would have it on the screen. I don't have the go-to link right now. If you
I have it. I have it.
Okay.
I'm just in my car, but I have it.
Oh, okay. Well, read that treaty, and you'll see that basically the Sultan granted power and jurisdiction to Britain where it says Her Majesty, referring to Britain,
Mhm.
granted power to Britain in Morocco. In
Correct.
Morocco.
In Morocco. Morocco. You're absolutely correct.
So where is United States of America?
In Morocco.
In Morocco. Okay, where's Britain?
In Morocco.
Okay, so
Just like France and Spain are in Morocco.
so what is this whole world?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What would this whole world be?
It's Morocco, 360,
Exactly. So
24/7,
we have
360.
a
Because the sun never the sun never sets on the Moroccan Empire.
so you see what in the treaties what happened? The same thing happened in that treaty, just like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. The Sultan said, hey, you can have your state, your government in Morocco. You can naturalize these people in Morocco. You can have your own nationality in Morocco. Throughout time, different treaties were happening. There were different sultans. The Moroccan Empire changed several different times. But the thing is for one, this whole world is in Morocco, which means that if the Sultan granted power and jurisdiction, in this case, to the Britain or to Britain
Mhm.
in the 1856 treaty,
Mhm.
that means that who if the sovereign grants a dependency something, what is that? What's that
I'm not.
called?
I'm not sure what you're trying to. I'm not sure what words you're trying to get me to say. So I just
It's
prefer that you say it. I'm not sure what words you want.
yeah. It's a charter.
Oh, okay.
So charters are for dependencies or for colonies. So in truth, what are we looking at? We looking at chartered states. In truth, in the truest essence.
Correct, because they all have charters. Absolutely.
But in international law, modern international law, they're seen as states, right?
Hmm.
So who the only people in the world that can correct this is us.
So if we become, I'd like to just dialogue with if you don't mind. So if we become a state, is it the same type of chartered state as the ones that we granted? Because then would we not then also be in Morocco? We are Moroccans in Morocco.
See, and that's almost a rhetorical question because you almost answered the whole question because if for us to be a charter state, meaning the sovereign granted us the powers to do something. We are the sovereigns, right? So if we saying in
Mhm.
truth, basically what we saying, the most common denominator of this all is saying that the only state is Morocco. In truth, if everything is Moroccan Empire, if we all come together, if you're familiar with the Tartaria stories, right? How Moors say a lot of people
What?
say, you say what now?
I'm sorry if I'm familiar with what stories. It went out just for a second there.
If you ever heard the term Tartaria,
Yes.
how Moors speak on Tartaria a lot, which really is just the Moroccan Empire. They say, how it was all in unison and things like that. It's talking about the Moroccan Empire being in unison, the one state, that one mentality we once came from until it began to fumble throughout time, crumble.
Hmm.
So
So state by state, then. So let's say that there are some states, some Moroccan states. I don't know just yet. Brother Chaz put me in the group about 2 weeks or so ago. So so I'm in New Jersey territory. So let's say we have our flag, our seal, Constitution, right? Now, does the Moroccan state, known as New Jersey right now, right? New Jersey state, because there's no such thing as state of New Jersey, but New Jersey state or the territory of New Jersey, do we do independent international business with other countries, states, or do we collectively as Moroccan states come together and do international business with other folks outside of these so-called these boundaries called North America?
Wazir Amir, would you like to answer that?
Sure.
Islam Wazir.
Islam. So as a Moroccan state government, you said you're with New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay. New Jersey, have they completed all the steps?
I literally, this is my first call. And so I do not know the answer
Okay.
to that question.
As a Moroccan state government, you have the right to interact, trade with other countries outside of other Moroccan countries. You're a state that can do trade with other states.
Okay.
Okay,
I had a feeling
so-
you were going to say that, and with United States.
And with the United States.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
But to answer your other question about the United States and the empire, rather, the empire basically is in a shallow grave, and there's no more sultan to run the empire. So in international law, 1956, the sultan of the empire gave up his position of sultan and became a king. You know, and so he's the king of the kingdom of Morocco. And then from that point on, international law says that since there's no more sultan, they have to have states. And so that's what we're doing in the territory where you're calling the Empire of Morocco. We're building those states. So we're taking those colonialized states, such as Oregon, Washington, and so forth and so forth, and turning them into Moroccan states fast as we can. Okay. And when that is complete, or before, depending on when we decide, we'll have the United States of Morocco. Okay.
Yes.
But we also, under the WRC,
What is that?
the Wazir Regional Council.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still new.
Okay, no problem. We're taking control over the other trust territories that are not yet become Moroccan state governments. So there are several out there who've not petitioned to become a government, but yet we are still administrating those territories. Okay. So I yield to my Wazir Akil.
I
have a point.
I have one more question that kind of relates to it, that Brother
Okay.
Northstar and I probably have similar questions. I invited Brother
Okay.
Northstar. We are brother, sister, cousins. I don't know, just like the rest of us, but we're involved in another, also say, activity. And so with that said, okay, so what's his name? Asir, Duke of Tears. I'm just putting, I don't mean to put him on blast. It's just at least someone that I respect. He does a lot of research. He wears a lot of, we'll say, Indian garb. So what is it about American Indian, Native American, the word Indian, that we should identify with, we should not identify with? Did we have tribes? Can you just further elaborate on that? I'll just say that little bit, and I'm sure Brother Wazir, Brother Akil, you can take it from there.
Okay. Yeah. In regards to tribes, everything falls under the state. Um, in all truth, I mean, tribes are a thing. There is a such thing as tribal government, et cetera, et cetera. But none of that, if it's not a state government, then you cannot enforce treaties. For instance, if you look at the Indians, right? The quote unquote Native Americans, which is a type of American, a lot of people can get confused thinking that they have they have more benefits, things like that, because they got a lot of the land promised to them or what have you. Yet they cannot reclaim this landmass as Indians because this is not India, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot to basically, there's a lot of T's and a lot of I's to cross when you're trying to exercise some tribal government or avenue opposed to statehood. There, a lot of Moors, they come from the tribal aspect. And again, the tribal is not bad, it's just understanding the lanes, the avenues and dominions in which that we must come from in order to truly establish a truly protected tribe, which we must establish a state government first to protect anything. So a lot of Moors from the tribal sense will say things like family, your family is your state, right? In which that, again, the state government, we're talking about elected officials. We're not talking about your daughter who just turned 8, right? You gave her trust, all this type of stuff, where we're not talking about that. We're talking about an actual competent official, right? Who can take a sworn in oath, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to the tribal aspect, again, it all falls under the state. And I am familiar with Brother Seer Dukatir's his avenue of information as it proclaims to quote unquote as it pertains to quote unquote proclaiming nationality. But in truth, it is not. There's only one way to do it. State is the only thing that can grant you nationality. Yes, state is state of mind, but the holistic sense of state is what grants you nationality, which is the government.
So once we are a state, New Jersey is a Moroccan state, then that is what grants me my proper status. That
right.
will grant me. Okay, so nothing else can do that other than when New Jersey territory becomes, what will it be called? New Jersey, what will it be called?
That's totally up to y'all. Completely up to y'all.
Can we go back to, what it may have been called before? I think it was something about maybe Sheshabi, something like that.
That's totally up to y'all. I'll tell you this, just to kind of help you out with that.
Mm-hmm.
Each state is different. Us at Meru, we decided to name it Meru for several different reasons. You can take the historical background of your territory. Even come up with make up a name. It's literally whatever y'all decide to do. And you I don't think you were on the meeting earlier, but as I alluded to earlier, some of the several states have allodium, morse, pradium, ante, and wherever they're from. You can do that if you wanted to. My personal opinion, well, it already came across that not everybody's going to be able to do that because everybody's going to have the same abbreviations after a while, and it'll get real confusing. So so yeah, you can pretty much name it whatever you want to, as long as the entire state agrees upon it, which is the people that are creating the state. Because remember, the state is people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the people decide to identify themselves as people, then instead of persons, right, they got to come out that jurisdiction and say, hey, I declare myself as a Moroccan, and then I proclaim myself as a Moroccan, right? You got to know, then do, right? So the people, the state, the several Moors who are forming that Moor state government, it's up to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So right now I'm passing um a shopping center. Wells Fargo is here, Burlington Coat Factory, called Burlington, ShopRite, which is one of our grocery stores, Chick-fil-A, you name it, there's a pizza shop in there, 541 Pizza Shop, here's Rosewood condominiums, and the list goes on and on and on, Meineke, blah, blah, blah. How do we interact with them? Wingstop, Chipotle. I'm just going down the road here, and the gas stations. So, Goodyear Tire. How do we now interact with them? Because they're still under the United States, the corporation that's in Morocco, which United States of America, United States of America came from Great Britain, from the rebellion, and they decided, no, I don't want to be under them. I'm going to do my own thing. And the Moors, can you help me, gain my independence from Great Britain? So, what will be different in our day-to-day lives?
Wazir Amir, you want to answer that?
Yeah. Right now, you have a driver's license. Correct?
No, I don't.
Okay,
No,
so
I gave that.
You
No,
gave up all
I gave
your.
it up.
So you have no identification for New Jersey.
No, I have RV Bay Publications, um, ID for the last 25 years. I've gotten pulled over 3 times, and I think I got a ticket 1 time, and I don't know, something Taj said to do, blah, blah, blah. I did it, and they didn't bother me again. I watch the speed limit, try not to be any kind of attraction at all, and so that I'm safe. The car is registered in my mother's name, and the insurance is in her name, and I'm even more careful because of that anyway. But yeah, so I haven't had ID for 20 something years.
Okay. Your ID is your transmitting utility that lets you go back and forth between jurisdictions. Okay, so with your ID from New Jersey, you can rent a car, you can get a hotel room, and all those things. Because without that, you're unable to.
I can rent a hotel. I can rent a hotel room with what I have.
Okay, in some jurisdictions you can't.
Okay.
But the point being is that that former Moorish subject person name was your transmitting utility to do business in the jurisdiction of the United States.
So which one do you mean? The birth name that's on the birth certificate or my
Yes,
El Isa name? Okay. Uh-huh.
yes. The ones on your
Mm-hmm.
birth certificate, that's the one that has
Right.
a social security number. That's the
Correct.
one that has, the state ID, so on and so forth. That's where they
Correct.
recognize you. So when you go into what some people call the matrix, you can do business, okay?
Correct.
Without any concern, because you're recognized, your former Moorish subject is able to go back and forth. And therefore, that is what's been recommended, to go ahead and get your driver's license or your uh, a state ID, whatever is necessary, even your passport if necessary.
One of interest.
Just a minute, because that's what you're doing. That's what you're using to do business. You asked
Mhm.
earlier, how can you do business? And
Mhm.
different states are at different levels of advancement. Okay,
Mhm. Yes.
therefore, they're not set up to handle other situations that may come up. Okay.
Mhm. So we just need to make sure, and this is actually a question rather than a statement. So is it that we just need to make sure that as we come together and solidify New Jersey and the other 49 being a Moroccan state, that there's some mechanism in place that will allow us to, through some quote unquote template of some sort, some procedure to, for someone such as myself to go back and get a New Jersey driver's license,
Okay.
all with and making sure that if I need to sign something a particular way, or filling out the well, I'm not sure, would I be getting their passport? I wouldn't be getting a passport, would I? Because we should have our
Yeah,
own
it's not yours.
ID.
It's not yours.
It's the transmitting utility.
Yes, but also,
Right.
are you
But there has to be some type of something in place that distinguishes me, the living woman, from that transmitting utility.
that's your El Lasha? Is that how you pronounce it, Alicia?
Isa.
El
The
Isa?
IY is like a double E. El
Okay,
Isa. Mhm.
that's your free national name. Let me ask you, are you an officer of your state?
Mhm.
Are you an officer of your state?
This is literally, so the quick answer is no. Literally, this is the first time. I didn't even know there was a meeting until, well, we were texting earlier, and like, meeting. Oh, okay, what meeting? And so I sent it to Brother North Star and a couple others.
Okay,
I knew Brother North Star would get on.
the reason I
So
asked
no.
because all officers of the state are protected, and they're protected in both their free national name and in their more subject name, the former more subject name.
Okay, all right.
Okay, there's a protection for them.
Okay, which is that? Which is the straw man? Which is the
But
straw man name?
what most people
Birth name?
call straw man, yeah. There's protection for them
Uh-huh.
as
Yeah,
as
this is just all new. I've been reading just a little bit in the Telegram. I mean, just a little. Um, Chaz just put me in here in the group, and I thank him for that, because he knows I'm serious about us, reclaiming our land once and for all. Because I'm actually getting, excuse me, brothers, and if there are any sisters on here, I'm getting kind of sick and tired of it all. Even what they're doing to all of us, even their own, their own subjects. I'm tired of them taking, the houses from people, kicking them out, just trumping up charges against folks, and crazy, health, so-called healthcare system. They might as well not even call it healthcare. What what care? What health? They don't care about your health. So I'm not new to this. I've been around Taj for 30 some years, and Ras Mariah and Asir and many others. I'm not new to it, but I like fresh blood. And because we need to do something. It needs to get done once and for all.
Is is
Mhm.
and so are there any other questions before we conclude this meeting, this study session?
Yeah, I have a question. Is it Alicia? That's how you pronounce it, you said? Sister?
El Isa.
El
El
Isa.
El
Thank you.
Isa. Yes,
Thank
Brother
you.
North Studies.
Thank you. You said you've been following Taj and Ross Mariah, right?
Taj was the very first teacher back in I don't know the probably mid 90s or so. Um, yeah, I've studied with a number of folks. He was the first to introduce me, and actually he wasn't the first person. He actually wasn't the first Moor. It was a friend of mine, and I was like, a Moor, like the Spanish Moors. And so then he just broke it down. That was years ago. That was, I don't even know, 1986, 87, 88.
Mhm.
And then I just found Taj. I don't know, someone led me there, and Taj, he'll break stuff down. And everyone has their lane. And Taj, for me, did what needed to be done, introduced me to who it is that we are. And my mother didn't do that. My father didn't do that. People in the schools system, they didn't do that. Sunday school, church, they didn't do that.
So Taj
Yeah.
told you that you're Moorish American. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just there's a lot that was learned at that time. I probably have, I don't even know how many notebooks full of pages of notes, like literally, because he talked but he says the same thing, right? And he just says it a different way, and he says this and that. And then you just you move. And I shouldn't say move on, because it's not like I move, like I don't listen to anything that he's ever said before. There are quite a number of others, Hakeem Bey. There are a number of Moors throughout this vast estate of ours that I have come in contact with over the years, and just put it all
Yeah.
together and I say, okay, one of my closest folks who went to the same high school, he's 4 years younger than me, is Abdullah Bey.
Mhm.
There's I started off before him in the PASEP program in Philadelphia, taking etymology, and we both studied under Dr. Burton. He's transitioned a little while back. Abdullah became the professor there. I've studied with Kemeti Ube in Mount Vernon, New York. He introduced me to Black's Law Dictionary. He gave me my first one. He gave me one. I couldn't even tell you 20 years or so, more than 20 years ago. I know it's more than 20 years ago. Black's Law 6. And he introduced me to Black's Law Dictionary. And a brother Shem Malachi Bey, who's working closely with Abdullah. Just some names, but they're brothers and sisters in Chicago, New York. I mean,
Yeah.
Taj and Ras Mariah used to go to New York every week. I drive up there, travel up there. Taj would, come back with me. Somebody would, get him there, and then he'd come back with me. I would, I'd be behind the wheel first, and then halfway so he could get something to eat, and halfway through, we'd stop, we'd switch. He'd get him, get us to his place, and then I drive home,
Right.
and I did that every week. So I've been around,
Yeah.
but I always like to know how do we get back to who it is that we're supposed to be? I done read this and read that. Oh, sorry. Let me close my door.
Okay, not a
Read
problem.
this and read that. You know what I'm
But
saying? So what do we do? And
yeah,
so it's I'm here.
okay. I'm glad you're here. Thing is,
Yeah.
I suggest you start off with the videos. Get your 100 hours in, both with AMPAC study sessions and
What's the
then
$100 for?
I said 100 hours
Oh,
of
100
study
hours. Okay.
with the AMPAC study sessions and along
Okay.
with the AMPAG media that's on YouTube. Both of those are on YouTube. And get caught up because this is a different paradigm than what the Moorish Americans have been doing for the last 60 years or so. And what we're doing here is revolutionary, and we're shaking up the world. So I hope you'll be a part of it and uh, do whatever you have to do to become Del Aziz or a member of the executive branch, if whatever, and find your place and help build that government, because they're going to need a lot of hands. Like most of us, we need a lot of hands.
If someone could email can you would you be so kind to email me since you have my email address?
I'll send it.
The videos or whatever it is. I'm still listening, but I'm gonna go on mute. You've asked answered a lot of questions. I know me, I have like tons of questions. I just have to go up here, help my mom walk the dog, but I'll be still
Okay.
listening.
Okay, what I'll say to do is I'll put in the chat right now the names of the YouTube channel that you can look up, and you can screenshot that. AMPAC Media, AMPAG Media, Meru State Republic. Let me see.
I only see two things so far. Okay.
As well as Wazir Amir, will we just type in what will we type in for yours, your the state channel?
Am it's Melodia Morris Peridium of New Mecca Media, or I think it's AMPNM Media.
Okay.
I'm working on that site. We are me and my Haji. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just put 4 channels you can look up via YouTube. Everybody can screenshot them, go check them out. As of right now, those are only 4 YouTube channels that's going to be speaking on more statehood. And again, if you wish to establish a more state, email trusteeship.council.wrc@gmail.com. Okay. And again, just put your name, your phone number, the territory you reside in, and if you're referring someone else, put their email.
Can you put that email in the chat? Because I'm walking.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions I like before we go.
All right.
Just to recap what I heard and get clarity on the charter. The trustee council of the United Nations. The United Nations have a trustee council that is a part of decolonization of states around the planet. The trusteeship council of WRC, you are an extended arm of theirs? You have a charter to be an extended arm of theirs to assist other states here on this landmass to do the same? Correct me if I'm wrong. Interrupt me anywhere I'm wrong. See if I got that right.
The
No,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's correct so far?
No, the WRC has been mimicking the United Nations in many ways, being that we have the ability to set up how we wish, right? We're, as of right now, not members of any United Nations. Becoming a member of the United Nations will give you extra protections, in which that basically, being that the United States of America is in the Security Council, and when the rest of the world finds out that this is not United States of America, and we basically take their place, which basically puts us as number one, right? The America being the commonly known as the big the land of milk and honey, the land of freedom, et cetera, et cetera. We will basically exchange places, exchange powers, but no, to answer your question, as far as the United Nations Charter, no, because another point is that the United Nations is on this landmass as an organization, meaning that most of the United Nations, that's to say, the headquarters, it has to follow the laws of that state. So the United Nations itself, from the charter, everything, all of that is Moroccan law in truth.
Yeah.
The WRC is not an extension of the United Nations, but more so an organization that will be a stronger organization.
The de jure of that.
De jure,
De
right?
jure of that. I got you.
The United Nations. Just before I conclude or pass the mic or yield to anybody else, the United Nations itself was made to, in so many words, reform Morocco. Because again, what is the entire world? Morocco. Where is it? Where is the United Nations at? Morocco, right? So according to the Treaty of Fez, it'll tell you how basically this was so. So just to answer your question again, no, it's not an extension. It's a totally separate organization that's actually going to let the United Nations know, or teach the members of the United Nations, the officials of the United Nations, that the truth, that this is Morocco, et cetera, in which many of them don't know.
Right. An organization cannot give a charter to a de jure state,
Right?
Because you're just an organization. I got that part. So as each state is establishing their population, territory, 3 branches of government, and their constitution, what is going to constitute them as a state? Where do you get your status of good faith from? What apostillizes you as a state in international eyes, where the international recognizes Meru as a sovereign Moroccan state? What is the documentation that solidifies that?
All the Moroccan states, all the Moroccan states that are recognized, we recognize Meru, and Meru recognizes us. And that's all that it takes. There's no other governing body that says, that you're a national or a state. We also did the steps necessary according to the charter, the United Nations Charter, into becoming a state, we put our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, our
Right.
flag and seal,
Right.
and we put that with the United Nations, along with some treaties that we've acceded to, and became recognized. But we recognize ourselves.
Okay, so you're in a position now to enforce the treaties. You're now in a position now to enforce the Treaty of Peace and Friendship,
Yes.
Treaty of Algeciras, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the other thing that came to mind in the presentation is being nationalized by the United States, and so you're not Moroccan because you've been nationalized, but then you have the Treaty in Madrid that says, well, if you didn't have Morocco's permission, you're still Moroccans. That's kind of confusing. If you're Moroccans and they didn't have the permissions, no matter what they did, it was fraud, and fraud doesn't have any statute of limitation. Fraud is fraud 200-300 years from now, right?
Right. But the
So
thing is,
you're still Moroccan.
the Moors acquiesced. They became subjects. They became Negro, Black, and colored through their own voice, through their own mouth. They said they're Negro. They said they're African Americans, and those are under the jurisdiction of the United States. So they acquiesce.
Go ahead, brother. Somebody else wanted to jump in there. Go ahead, brother. I hear you.
Okay, point of privilege, Minister Foreign Affairs for Impact. I just wanted to say I want to support the forum. So if there's anything I can answer for you guys, help with, allow me to, yeah. And I wanted to say two things. I think I was letting him know that the word he was looking for was deposit. We deposited the necessary documentation to become a state.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's right.
Not only that, the United Nations is only here for one thing, and it always existed for one thing. I didn't hear him say that would have clarified it all. They're here for decolonization only. And if you look up their history, that's all they ever did was decolonization. We just failed to recognize that until, nowadays. We know the answer now.
Appreciate that.
But I'm here for y'all if y'all need anything. So if y'all hear me blurting out, that means maybe you're stumbling. I just wanted to correct you or something like that. But you're doing very well, Islam, and I'll be right here.
Islam, thank you.
Documents deposited where? With who?
With the United Nations.
Okay,
the United
there
Charter.
you go. There. So you still have to let them know, put them on notice.
Well, there are all states, and the United Nations doesn't deal with all states. They only deal with the people that internationally come into understanding how to do things the right way and want to do them the right way. Because there are some states that don't, get in with the United Nations, but do things with the United States that are, fraudulent. Like I heard you saying, you were trying to say how a fraudulent America has done things, and even if they did the Naturalization Act, then that would be considered fraud also. And he was trying to tell you that now, internationally, no, they know how to play the game, and you acquiesce and capitulated to whatever term. And I can name them all, from Indian to Negro, Black. Some of us want to be white. Some of, gosh, it's crazy. And, just trying to get on that education road, we capitulated all this time until now. And if you notice out there, there's another group of Moors that don't really understand but call themselves Moorish Americans and really believe that they can be two separate people in a contract, So we capitulated a lot, and a lot of us still are, So with the United Nations, all these things became possible, and not only with the treaties you were saying. With the treaties, we had to become parties to the treaty. So once we ratified, deposited our necessary documents to become a state, then us Moors immediately got on our treaties and started writing legislation, correlation, taking the United States, anybody law that we think we can use pertaining to liberation and freedom and governance. We take those
Holla.
things and we twist those things around into our Moroccan thoughts
Yes.
and rank the United States corporation or America with those laws. And
Holla, holla.
that's how we do the damn thing. You
Okay,
know,
can the states, the Moroccan states, which it can't be too many, can you name them right now who they are that are already sovereign and have deposited?
yes. I think he was giving you some names in the thing. We got Meru. We have Ampac. We have Ampag. We have
I'm sorry. As you give the Moroccan name, can you equivalent it with the names that we know it to be? You know, like what's
Alodia Morris Palladium Ante Georgia. We have Alodia Morris Palladium Ante Colorado.
yes,
We have Delorum.
Colorado, Georgia, Colorado.
Some of those, hey, look.
Oregon, right? I think I heard Oregon.
DMT, which is Delorium. Oh my, yeah. See there, you got me at one, but you know, but we have a lot of states forming. I can't name
Okay,
them
but
all
it'll
off
be
the
on the AMPAC website. I can find the list on AMPAC, right?
on the app. Yes, of course you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I'll be
Yeah.
going right there, and the two brothers, the Wazir, another brother. Forgive me for not mentioning your name. Thank you very much for you know, your presentation and what you offered tonight. I did immediately email the trustee council WRC, but I didn't put the dots in it, so I got to go back and email y'all again. So I will definitely be in touch with you, and I will definitely be on AMPAC to learn more. I'm in the Massachusetts territory, and
Excellent.
yeah, so I'll be in touch with y'all about how I can get started.
Okay, good deal. Good deal.
With that,
All
I'm
right.
going to say good night to y'all.
Peace and love,
All
good brother.
Peace.
Islam, myself, lawyer and master. I say,
Islam, brother North Star. Islam. You have a good night.
All right. So it's been a good build. We've been on here for almost 3 hours now. So I would like to conclude this meeting. I don't want to take up too much of anybody's time. So I'll yield the floor to Wazir Amir El, and I do thank you all for attending, and I yield the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Wazir. It was a very good bill. Lasted longer than we had planned it, and it was a great bill. And thank you very much, Chad, for coming in and helping out. I appreciate that. The energy went up.
It's on.
Yeah, the energy went up when you came in, and that's good. Appreciate it. But I just want to say that hopefully when we have our next meeting, you tell somebody and bring them with you, and I'll take it from there. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Hey, if y'all don't mind, can y'all send me a link every time y'all do this?
Absolutely.
Islam, thank y'all so much. Ampac, thanks you, and until we meet again.
I have one question. I do have a question. The answer could be long, but just keep it short.
Okay.
So what happens with you know, bills that we have, people have, mortgages, court cases, all those different things? You can keep it short for now if you'd like, or however long you want.
It's my first time someone asked me that in the government, so I'll just tell you. Depending on the status of your government, what you have deposited, what you have written into legislation, some of those things, as a diplomat, really shouldn't affect you. But there's a flip side to everything, right? You're dealing with a colonial person who is really deranged. They don't mind taking advantage of us Moors, definitely when they feel that we're not on our square completely, or like right now we have a few states with some people with some injuries. You know, regardless of how they got those injuries, there are diplomats and things like that. Those things, as far as court cases and stuff, should be dismissed or like as you see with Donald Trump and them, they hold that stuff up till they're not in office, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's how that stuff really, really works. But that goes along with your legislation too. You know, we have to really start writing legislation to really start combating these things. And right now, you know, a lot of our states, a lot of us are coming in. We don't have all our brothers and sisters to come in and help. So right now we're really focusing on, you know, the hardball legislation to get to the ICJ. We got a case of genocide for them taking some of our people after knowing they were diplomats under duress and coercion. You know, now let's talk about bills. Bills, those things right now, we don't, as Moors, yes, we are who we are for as politicking and our states and stuff like that. But everything like they always said when we were United States citizens or our mom's child in the United States jurisdiction, everything in due time, right? So right now we have no choice because they know we really ain't no lazy people. We understand various stages of advancement, and when those things do come, when the state gets its hands on it, it's going to pay its the state is going to take care of its government officials sitting in those seats. But at this time, you know, the state itself, the government officials, they have other jobs. You know, we hold jobs. Like we work for AMPAC actually has a security business that allows us to come in and work, that pays us, you know, with no taxes and stuff like that. That's something AMPAC's not up. I'm not very SME on that, but we do have that, which I'm thankful, you know what I'm saying, that we able to do that in that manner until things get better. You know, like my wife, she's a practitioner. I'm a welder also, right? A welder, got my CDLs and stuff. So it's many things I can do just to hold on because the state is only asking for my time as needed, you know, so well, I'm able to still do things to manifest a lifestyle, you know? So I'm not going to say that, well, this is a hurry thing. We got to, oh man, hurry up and send out bills and let them know who we are. No, it really don't work like that. Like it really, really don't work like that. Because once we get the logistic of how business is ran, you're going to see where everything has a third party, you know, sometimes 6 and 5th parties. And those are your subjects who have put their minds together and done things. So I can imagine, you know, us Moors, with all the respect and peace and friendship that we have, actually coming in and saying, demanding, hey man, look, pay this bill because I can't pay it right now, which we understand. That's a hurt, and we shouldn't be in that. And that's why we are trying to fight right now. Every government right now is hopefully is dealing with legislation for the WRC and dealing with internal legislation for their own states so that we all can combat these things. So like if you know SMEs, if you got a friend who know SME in doing business in taxation and stuff like that, that can help the state in some kind of way to get that kind of business in order, man, everybody would love to bring that to the table so we can observe it and, you know, put it into play, you know? But right now we don't have any SMEs to actually deal with, you know, man, how we, you know, not saying we don't have people to think about it, but everybody in their offices are really focused on, okay, we got a genocide case coming up, you know, this is about to shut it all down. So we know for a fact within probably a year and a half tops, everybody's probably going to be receiving the biggest payout, and the world will know about us more. So, you know, so everybody's kind of like just holding on, you know what I'm saying? Holding on to every little bit of it. If they got misery on the workforce right now, they're holding on to that. So when that day comes, it's over with, you know, and gonna be able to say it out loud. Hey man, did you pay them taxes? Because we closing stuff immediately. You know, so if y'all can just hold on, you know, then, you know, all these things will come to play. You know, right now we're dealing with a lot of new states coming in, so it's a lot of rewind, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of rewind stuff because the education is so heavy and it's so fluent. As you can see, the states, they're on calls all day, all week long, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get to it. We're getting to it. But I got a feeling the check is going to come first and it's going to retire all the states, you know?
It's all right, y'all. I thank y'all for attending. Wazir, Amir, I thank you for allowing me on here to co-host with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And y'all check out Meru State Republic and New Mecca's YouTube channel, which is posted in the chat to listen to parts that you may have missed. And with that, I'd like to say thank you all again and have a good night. Islam.
Islam more. Peace and love. Thank you.
Peace and love.